citizens of a foreign country favor him more than his constituents in his own country.
I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence to be declassified. I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president.
Like, hey, good
that
luck.
makes me angry. Okay, that makes me angry.
I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin.
What?
Yeah.
But Democratic voters have been expressing their displeasure for months, their concerns for months. They don't care.
What's going on, guys? So we got to have a moment of silence for Joe Biden's campaign, okay? Because this thing is over. He just had his big boy press conference where he was supposed to impress everyone with his amazing cognitive abilities, okay, and failed miserably from the very beginning. He called Kamala Harris VP Donald Trump. It's, bro, I got footage from TYT roasting Sleepy Joe Biden. This is an example. You know what? I actually got a little bit of respect for TYT because even though these are far leftist lunatics, these guys actually are telling the truth about Joe Biden, and they have been the entire time, okay? They have never lied about Joe. Now, I do think it's ridiculous to think that they still want Joe to win because they're so Trump deranged, but they clearly do not like Joe. They think that he's a goofball, he's a dum-dum, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. They admit that he does things wrong for the country, and they also know that he's a bumbling buffoon who can't do anything right. So I'm gonna react to those guys, but first I wanna play you a clip that even demonstrates that MSNBC thinks that the stuff that Joe Biden says just is not gonna cut it to win the election.
There are only 3 with lower approval ratings than he has right now, and they all lost. Donald Trump, George H.W. Bush, and Jimmy Carter. So some of the political information is what worries some folks in his inner circle, and there is right now no poll that shows him winning.
The reality about polling numbers for incumbent presidents and the real history of that versus what President Biden said, which was not actually factually accurate as far as I can tell. That's worrying because it makes me worry that the president is being given information about his political standing that may not be based in reality, that may be sunnier than is real. It's critical on exactly that point you were making, which is that the president is losing the race right now. The polls don't show him winning. And that's consistent. It's not one poll and he said, oh, who believes the polls are right? And he has defied the polls in the past, and the Democrats defied the polls under his leadership in 2022 with the midterms, sure. But if the polls broadly, for the entire duration of this race, have broadly been accurate, he is losing. And there was no articulation of that. The closest he got to that was saying the campaign hasn't started. A lot of times people don't really start paying attention till Labor Day. That's not a great argument that we're just going to keep coasting in this losing position and hope that things turn around on their own in September. It's just not a good argument for turning things around. And it's also not an acknowledgement that things do need to be turned around if he's going to win.
It's hard to imagine that your approval rating is just suddenly just going to skyrocket after Labor Day because you start dumping all your money into your campaign ads and knocking on doors. It's just hard for me to imagine that creating the effect that you want, because when you ramp it up, Trump's campaign is going to ramp it up. So you're going to be fighting and duking it out amongst one another at that time. And things are going to be just like this the entire time. So in general, you want to keep good, strong momentum. If you don't have momentum, then you're already coming back from a losing position. And it just doesn't seem like Joe Biden's campaign is recoverable. But screw my opinion on it. Let's see what TYT has to say about it.
President Joe Biden had his, what everyone seems to be referring to in his cabinet, big boy press conference today at NATO, and the point was, okay, there's no prompter, there's not supposed to be a script. He's supposed to alleviate some of the concerns that Democratic voters have and members of Congress have about his cognitive decline, his mental decline. And so let's see how it went. It didn't start off so well. First, he introduced Kamala Harris in a way that wasn't accurate, so you should see for yourselves.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
This happened on the same day that he introduced Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the leader of Ukraine, as Putin. But there's more. Let's go to the next video where, well, actually, Cenk, why don't you weigh in on this?
So Zelensky's Putin, Kamala Harris is Trump.
Right.
And this is the press conference where he's supposed to prove to us how great he is. But keep in mind,
Great job.
It's not like the Democrats have lowered the bar so they think, well, if he doesn't die during the press conference, then he should go on. No. Well, if he doesn't fall apart at the seams, he should go on. No. He has to make up a giant deficit.
I don't think that that's where they lowered the bar to. The bar doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what Joe Biden does at this point. They're going to want him to continue to run. Some of them are. Some of the smart ones are like, hey guys, the path to victory doesn't exist, okay? But some of these other shilling types who just can't get their own heads out of there, you know what? They think that, hey, maybe we could just coast our way and gaslight our way to victory and maybe it won't matter. Maybe we'll get lucky, who knows, right? That's what they think. Maybe they think that they're so Trump deranged or that Americans are so Trump deranged, that's gonna be enough, okay? It was enough in 2020 and it was enough in 2022. So surely it'll be enough in 2024, even though in 2020 they mail-in balloted and pandemic their way to victory. And in 2022, the Thought Patrol came out and said, hey, we wanna kill our children. So in 2024, now what do you have? Those same groups aren't quite as fired up. They're not quite as Trump deranged. They're not quite as get rid of our babies as they were in 2022. So you need some other gimmick to get people to come out and vote.
He's losing in every swing state. Right now, combination of polls has him down by 3 nationally. He has to win by 5, so he's down by 8 in effect. He's at 37% approval rating. And he was at 52 when he won. He's got 15 points to make up at least. This, hey, he didn't get every single answer wrong is not the win you think it is, especially when in the middle of the press conference, he's calling Kamala Harris Trump and Zelenskyy Putin. Already a disaster, already over.
Biden apparently...
Before the press conference, he called Zelenskyy Putin. Okay, at the beginning of the press conference is when the Vice President Trump came out.
So, Shao, let's go to the next video because I haven't watched this ahead of time. I don't know what it's about, but, well, apparently he denies that he goes to sleep early, even though he had gathered a group of Democratic governors to let them know that the problem is he's not getting enough sleep and he plans on taking more naps and sleeping more.
He said he's not gonna do events past 8 o'clock at night because he knows he doesn't function well past 8 o'clock. And we're not talking about midnight, we're talking about 8 o'clock. The early bird special is barely over. So let's see what his answer was.
There's been reporting that you've acknowledged that you need to go to bed earlier and your evening around 8.
That's not true. Look, what I said was, instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. And I said, for example, the 8, 7, 6 stuff, instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock. People get to go home by 10 o'clock. I love my staff, but they add things all the time, at the very end. I'm catching hell from my wife.
What he was referring to is, well, he placed blame on his staff for filling his schedule with too many things to do, and that his wife gives him hell about having so much to do in one day. That's what he was referring to. He's the president of the United States, guys. He's the president of the United States.
Complaining about things to do.
I mean, look, guys, I've said this before, but I can give you many examples. Would you have him drive your car with your kids inside it?
Oh, hell
Would you
no.
have him operate heavy machinery? Nobody would, right? The presidency is not a small job. It's a giant job. And he right now has to do 2 jobs. One is be the president, the other is run for president. They're both incredibly difficult jobs. You cannot do it if you can't go past 8 o'clock at night. I don't care, who you want to blame. The governor said that you said it. Not anywhere near good enough. Even if you didn't think that he fell apart at the seams and you just want to keep making excuses, well, Kamala Harris could be Donald Trump. No, look, I know that that's not your excuse. For Blue MAGA, their excuse will be, it's just a normal slip up. All Joe Biden ever does is 100 normal slip-ups that every president apparently does. You remember, bro?
As a matter of fact, that's what Joy Reid tried to do, and I'm like, Joy, no.
I think, the gaffes and mixing up names, I think for people who've been observing Joe Biden for a really long time, that's actually just normal Biden. Like, he does mix up names. He was known for gaffes. This is the joke that was always about Joe Biden, is that he's the gaffe guy. So I don't know that that is necessarily going to harm him in some special way.
She tries to play it off like he's just some sort of like kooky guy who just makes a lot of mistakes. I'm not going to put any clips of Joe Biden speaking here, but I have before. And he spoke clearly just fine and didn't make these sorts of mistakes. Every human being makes mistakes and confuses names sometimes, but Joe Biden has done this very often, and considering the fact that he knows how much is on the line, the fact that he's still making these gaffes is extremely telling, because you can sense the concentration that he's trying really hard to not make mistakes. And he still is.
Barack Obama making these slip-ups? I don't remember it. It's not that everyone is perfect or
Slip-ups happen, right? Like,
yeah,
it's
of course.
normal. It's normal to misspeak. Look, we don't have a prompter here, right? Sometimes we misspeak and we'll be thinking about someone else. And when we're talking about someone entirely different, we might mix up names and not even realize it at that moment. That's totally normal. But you have to take these slip-ups that Biden is basically having over and over again during these big international, events in the context of what happened during that debate, in the context of Chuck Todd saying that a White House secretary told him 2 years ago that there's no way that Biden can run again because of the state that he's in.
So,
okay?
I didn't know this. I thought they were having regular cabinet meetings. They haven't had one since last year.
What?
They haven't had a cabinet meeting since October of 23.
What?
No cabinet meetings this year. Full cabinet meetings, okay?
What?
So that because they can't show him to his own cabinet.
Oh
Because
my
that's
God.
how much of a mess he is.
Oh my God.
We're doomed.
Doomed. So, look, guys, the cabinet, by the way, is also the one that could evoke the 25th Amendment. If Joe Biden doesn't cut his losses and get out of the race, soon it's going to get bad enough that people are going to say he should step down from the presidency.
I don't want anyone to freak out. I'm trying to stay calm, but I'm legitimately concerned. Okay, I'm concerned.
I've now not only talked to other Democrats,
not just about the political stuff. Okay, who's going to win the election?
The presidency,
the president. I'm worried about the country.
So, and I've been involved in several debates.
And these are the guys who think Trump's gonna ruin everything. Look at this mess. Look at this mess, guys. We don't even know if the president is gonna freaking poof, turn to dust tomorrow. Like, that's where we're at. This is a massive cover up. This is Watergate type stuff.
Where the blue MAGA person said, it's no big deal. The administrative state will run the country.
No, it is a big deal.
Wait, do we have a democracy? Who the hell's in the administrative state?
Guys, I need you to okay, let's just focus on one policy foible from the Biden administration so you understand why I'm so concerned. Okay. For how long did we have this issue with asylum seekers, like thousands and thousands of asylum seekers coming into the country? In December of last year alone, there were 300,000 people who came into the country, 250,000 of which claimed asylum in 1 month. In 1 month. Who was working on immigration, Cenk? Who was securing the border, Cenk?
It appears no one. And so look, then there's a real question, and that's why Anna brings up that example of, does the president know what's going on at all? Because remember when he did the Stephanopoulos interview, he seemed to not be aware that he's really far behind in the polling.
Oh
he
my
mentioned
God.
one poll and he got that poll wrong, but he said, no, I'm totally fine. It's a neck and neck race, close race. No, it's not. It's not neck and neck at all. And so what does the president know? And who's the one feeding him the information? Apparently it's just the first lady, but does she know? This is from Jake Tapper just now. He says this from a senior Biden advisor, longtime Biden advisor. Quote, I just think there's an unfortunate inevitability to all this. I am sad because I have known him for a long time and he's a good man. I'm angry at his inner circle who have not served him well and at times committed malpractice in their service.
Fact.
And I am frustrated at the family for not expanding the circle so there would be a truth teller or two in their midst. They created a perfect storm of an echo chamber and it's biting them all in the ass.
It's biting us all in the ass, okay? Let's just be clear about that. It's not just,
facts.
oh, poor Democratic Party. No, poor Democratic voters, okay? Poor Democratic voters.
I hadn't inherited what I did, and we just moved things along. Anyway.
So he's done such a great job. He couldn't just step down after serving the one term he promised he would serve and then step down from and not run for re-election.
Well, there's two issues there, Anna. Number one is him trailing off, as he often does, and not finishing the point. They asked you a super important question about, hey, how come you didn't do as you said about being bridge to the next generation? And you end it with, anyway.
Every answer ends with anyway after trailing off for a little bit.
This is how you're gonna make a 15-point comeback?
I was wondering if anybody else noticed that. He's just, anyway. He does it over and over again because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He doesn't even know what his point is. He doesn't know what his answer is.
Anyway.
Well, you haven't seen anything yet because so far I would argue one of the most absurd statements that Biden made here is what you're about to watch. And let me just preface this by saying it's not necessarily untrue. It's just that he has acknowledged this and doesn't seem to think it's an issue. Let's watch.
My numbers are better in Israel than they are here. But then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway.
My numbers are better in Israel than they are here. That means he just acknowledged that citizens of a foreign country favor him more than his constituents in his own country.
How is that helpful? Like, hey,
that makes me angry, okay? That makes me angry. That literally makes me angry. I'm sorry, I'm yelling. It's actually a little bit uncharacteristic these days for me to lose it like that, but no, that makes me furious, okay? The fact that he said that makes me furious. I think it's actually true, but the fact that he says it as if it's like that is a huge problem. That is a huge.
This guy is not the president of the United States. He might as well be campaigning for president of Israel and Ukraine because they're the only people who are getting any money and support these days.
And could it be because you decided to funnel tens of billions of dollars of our taxpayer money to a foreign country that's committing a genocide in Gaza? But okay, even if you don't think it's a genocide in Gaza, it was still American taxpayers funding Israel's weapons when they had a budget surplus in 2022, something that we haven't had here in the United States since 2001.
Well, no wonder they like him in Israel. The problem is they don't like him here. That's why you shouldn't be in the race anymore. But I want to play that one more time, because I want to try to decipher what he said after Israel. Let's play that again.
My numbers are better in Israel than they are here. But then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway.
But they're better than a lot of other people here? No, you're losing. They're not better than a lot of other people here. In fact, they're significantly worse than Donald Trump's. And you say Donald Trump's gonna end democracy and he's a monster and a pathological liar and a crazy man, but you're getting your ass handed to him. Your numbers aren't better than anyone's here. And as usual, he ends with, anyway. And look, man, when the sign language dude seems 10,000 times more dynamic than the president, you got a problem.
Well, I mean, look, to be fair, the sign language people are always more dynamic than the politicians.
That's true, but that was a big stark difference. All right, and in case you guys didn't see it earlier, I want to show the Putin clip again as well. Now, Putin is not there, but apparently Biden didn't know that. Okay, look, it's a slip up, but you cannot have slip ups like this at a moment like this. So we got that up, let's watch.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We've got beat President Putin, President Zelenskyy. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President,
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Embarrassing, man. Embarrassing. And
I'm so sick of our government abandoning the American people in order to represent a foreign government instead. Okay, that is what the Biden administration has done when it comes to Israel. I know I'm going back to that, I get it. But it has been incredibly triggering to me how little our government cares about us and how far they are willing to go for a foreign government, a specific foreign government, of course. Why is that, Cenk? Why is that?
Yeah.
Because all they care about is their donors.
Yeah.
All they care about, they're worried about AIPAC. They're worried about the donors. I mean, every story that's been coming out now about the maneuvering taking place by Democratic leadership behind the scenes has to do with their concerns that donors are unhappy.
Yeah,
but Democratic voters have been expressing their displeasure for months, their concerns for months. They don't care. And I'm supposed to sit.
Well, it's a basic numbers game with these people. Like, if voters complain, like let's say 1,000 voters complain, but you have $1 million, they look at it like, well, you could just spend your way into getting more than 1,000 voters. So they just don't actually care about the people. It's just a numbers game to these people.
Here on this set and provide cover for that party? That party disgusts me right now. I am deeply, deeply ashamed and disappointed in that party. And that's the party that's standing between us and the end of democracy?
we just showed you a bunch of clips in a row, 3 clips in a row, where he ended with, anyway. And this is supposed to be the big boy press conference where he proves how dynamic he is and how he can make a 15-point comeback against Trump. Yeah. Did it look like that?
There's one more video. Can we just do one more video? It just came in.
Okay.
How accurate does anybody think the polls are these days? I can give you a series of polls where you have likely voters, me versus Trump, where I win all the time. When the unlikely voters vote, he wins sometimes. So bottom line is,
which polls are those? I have not seen those.
All the polling data right now, which I think is premature because the campaign really hasn't even started. I mean, it hadn't started in earnest yet. Most of the time, it doesn't start till after September, after Labor Day.
This is what MSNBC clowned them about.
The campaign hasn't started yet?
They live in la la land, man. So what he's trying to do there, very inartfully, is go to their stupid talking point about, oh, nobody even knows what's going on in the election. They don't find out until a month or two before the election. That's when they start paying attention. You think the American people don't know Joe Biden and Donald Trump? You think they're going to get to know them in September? I mean, they say things like this all the time.
This is crazy.
As if, this
is crazy.
I guess they think we're suckers and losers.
Yeah, I'm not a sucker, not a loser. I'm not falling for this garbage. This is so insulting.
Guys, look at him overall. Is that the dynamic guy who's going to make up 15 points in approval rating, who's going to make up 8 points versus Donald Trump nationally? It's just a disaster. It's a total train wreck. And so, look, the good news is I'm sure he's going to step down. I know.
Cenk, unless all the money just goes right out the window, he's not leaving, okay? He's not leaving.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving.
Democrats are super weak and they're still playing footsie with this nonsense situation. And I know that Blue MAGA will roar, he was great. He didn't even die during the press conference. He didn't once faceplant, literally. He didn't fall down, his head didn't crack open. He wasn't in a wheelchair, it's a giant win. No, it's not a giant win, it's a giant loss. And he's not gonna be able to turn it around, especially if he doesn't realize that Trump is winning in all the polling. Oh, he wins in some and I win with others. No, you don't, brother. And please stop mumbling. This guy is not going to make a heroic, miraculous political comeback. If you think he can beat Trump, you're living in la la land. But we won this argument. It's already over. It's all is left is the dead enders, both in his administration and in Blue MAGA, who live in a completely different planet, saying he's vibrant, he's gonna win, No one else on planet Earth believes that.
This party screwed you. And if you're still angry at the messengers who tell you that the party screwed you, I don't know what to say. But they screwed you. And that's the reality of the situation.
And the last thing I'll say is, anyway.
Bro, I don't know if I've ever seen them go this hard against Democrats ever. Man, Anna freaking lost it today. Look, I am freaking loving the meltdowns, and this is the only reason why I give a little bit of respect to TYT. For one thing, if you go back far enough, I used to be a leftist, never TYT radical leftist, but I definitely used to be on the left, and I learned my lesson. It really seems like TYT is taking red pills, okay? This is something I can always appreciate, is somebody taking a red pill and waking the F up. It's glorious that this press conference is not seen as some sort of big win for Sleepy Joe, because it clearly wasn't. They played the clips, okay? Just because he didn't fall over and collapse and turn to dust doesn't mean that this is some great victory, no matter how low you think the bar is. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate y'all watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
Emily, she wanted me to share with you. She also thought he looked old and terrible.
Well, she said old as fuck. Let's be honest. Yeah. Let's actually repeat what she
yeah, she said he's old as fuck.
What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing, Cenk? What are we doing? What are we doing? Someone tell me, what the F are we doing?